All right. We're a little decked out in some Syracuse gear, and for good reason. We're talking Syracuse basketball today. Today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Play It Again Sports. We go inside the orange, and we bring this guy on regularly to talk SU hoops. He's back for episode 2. Let's welcome in from inside the Loud House, our lovely friend, Mr. Neil Adler. What's up, Neil? How are you?
What's up, gentlemen? That is literally the coolest intro I've ever seen in my life. Can you do
I'm
one
thinking,
of those?
like, could we get the Rockefeller Center tree in there, Boy Green, during the Christmas holidays? Like, we need a little edit or something, you know? I'm feeling a little, I got the holiday spirit coming through me, you know?
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm oozing out of me, man.
Well, happy holidays to you guys. I love you guys. I appreciate you having me on. And Syracuse basketball, they beat Tennessee in their last game. And as you guys know, my son lives in Nashville. So I was with him this weekend. There was a lot of smack talking. So that was rather enjoyable. Yeah,
oh, really?
Oh, good.
Really? I'll have to have a little chat with young Cathan. All right. Anyway, about his allegiances. But let's talk about that. It was a good victory for Syracuse, especially coming off of, Neil, what happened out there in Las Vegas. And I think there were some good things that came out of Las Vegas. So maybe let's start there talking about the Vegas trip, what it meant to Syracuse to play 3 ranked opponents back to back to back. No easy task for any team. Played gamely in at least a couple of those games, but then came home for this matchup with another ranked team and found a way to get the job done. And I think it was a much needed victory for this group of players and in particular their coach as well. Let's talk about the journey.
Yeah. Vegas, I think they had arguably the toughest draw, so to speak, in the entire field. I mean, I don't recall every single team and who played who and every single, but I mean, like you said, they played Houston, which was number 3 at the time. They played Kansas, which was unranked, but they did well in Vegas and have been doing well since then. So they're ranked again, and they're really good, obviously. And then they played Iowa State, which didn't they just beat Purdue over the weekend, the top ranked team on the road by 8 million points or something like that. So in terms of Vegas, my sense is that, first of all, obviously they didn't have Donnie Freeman, and they didn't have Donnie Freeman against Tennessee, and we'll see for their next game. They play St. Joe's on Thursday. I thought by and large, other than the second half of the game against Iowa State, where I think they just ran out of gas against a really good team, I thought they showed well, even though they lost. They had a shot to beat Houston at the end of regulation.
Yep.
Okay, it didn't happen, but they stormed back from that game. They were down a bunch late and took the Cougars, which the Cougars were the national runner-up last year, and they're going to be in the mix again this year. And on a neutral site, they took them to overtime, lost by 4 points. Then you play Kansas. They didn't have Darren Peterson. Syracuse didn't have Donnie Freeman, and they were in the game for the most part. They ended up losing, I think, by 11. But they were right there for the most part. And then, like you said, 3 games in 3 days, and okay, so we'll play Iowa State, which I think was ranked 15 at the time, although I think they're up to number 4, number 5 now. And 3 Big 12 teams. That's kind of interesting. And they were only down 1 at halftime, and then just Iowa State blew them out in the second half. I think it was 60-30 in the second. I mean, it was bad. So I feel like the fan base was kind of jazzed up about competing well in those first 2 games. But then people I talked to on social media, they were saying, well, that second half of the Iowa State game kind of left a sour taste in our collective mouth just because they got blown out. But if you look at it in its totality, they played 3 really good teams, 2 of them strong the entire time virtually, the other one for half the game, and 3 games in 3 days. It's a lot. I mean, I know other teams had to do it too, so I'm not making excuses, and they didn't have Donnie Freeman. So you never want to go 0-3. You want to at least get 1 win, but I don't think it was an awful showing. And to follow that up with a win against Tennessee, who they were out, I think at least one guy, JP Estrella, a former Syracuse recruit, was out, and Tennessee didn't play great, but a win is a win, and they needed it. People were saying it was a must win for their season. I don't know if it was a must win, but like you said, Jim, I think it was much needed, especially because they don't have really any opportunities to move the needle much in the non-conference, the 5 games remaining. So it was a big win.
You're big. I don't want to get into a long discussion about this. We talked to Bud Poliquin as usual about it. The storming the court after beating a ranked team, is it a little much, or is this just the fan base needing the release here? Just needing to celebrate something, for crying out loud.
I remember, of course, I went to Syracuse like 60 million years ago, so my memory is a little foggy. I'm pretty sure I stormed the court. Although Syracuse, I was there from 96 to 2000. They had some pretty good teams. Obviously, I missed the championship team, but they had some pretty good teams. And I feel like we beat Pitt or UConn, and it was like a game on ESPN, and I'm pretty sure I remember storming the court, and I did things I probably shouldn't have done, and I probably got banned from the Dome for at least 5 to 10 years. There's like two schools of thought with that. Number one, some people, I'd see like again on social media or in chat rooms or whatever, like, oh, this is Syracuse. I know we've been down for a few years, but we're still a big brand. We're the 5th or 6th all-time winningest program in the history. Yes, we beat a ranked team, but it wasn't like it was the number 1 team in the country. So that was lame that they stormed the court.
Act like you've been there.
The other side is Syracuse won 14-19 last year. The year before, they were 20-12. And then the 2 years before that, I think they were 33-32 combined under Boeheim in his last year. They haven't made the tournament, since 2021. We'll see about this year. I'm cautiously optimistic. So they beat a ranked team at home, and it's been a while, and we want some positivity. So we're going to storm the court. Honestly, I don't care either way. As long as no one gets hurt, if you want to storm the court and feel good about the game, yes, I want Syracuse to get back to a place where other teams, if they upset Syracuse on their home court, they storm because we're ranked like in the top 5 or something like that. Yeah. But whatever. I mean, it was a great win. I think it's the most. I wrote on Inside the Loud House. I think it's the most important win that Autry's had in his. He's in his 3rd year now. I know they beat North Carolina, which was ranked 7th 2 seasons ago, I believe. But after going 0-3 in Vegas, not having Donnie Freeman, getting blown out in the second half of your last game. So that's like recency bias. And then to play a team that, at least at the time, was top 15 in the net, top 15 ranked, all that jazz. A team that also has beaten Syracuse the last 2 years, ACC, SEC Challenge last year, and then Maui the year before. And Syracuse had opportunities to let's say blow the lead, blow the game. I mean, they were up 9. They, Tennessee stormed back, took the lead a little bit. It was a little, stuff at the end, but they did it. And their free throw shooting is abysmal, and it's really irritating me. But they won the game, and I think the players were really pumped about it. They have an opportunity now, if they lay an egg in the non-conference, with these last games. But they'll presumably be 10-3 in the non-conference. All 3 losses at a neutral site against ranked teams, a win against a ranked team at home. Hopefully it'll stay quad 1. And then the rest is kind of, whatever, but at least they're, 10-3 is a lot. What were they, 6-5 last year in the non-conference? I mean, 10-3 is a lot better. I was saying though, to someone the other day though, gosh, if they could have just beaten Houston.
Oh yeah.
11-2 in the non-conference with 2 of those wins, and then fine, 2 losses, Kansas, Iowa State.
Big help.
10-3 is fine. It's solid. 11-2 would have just been like money. Like it would have been money. But either way, it still puts them in a position where if they do well in the ACC, they're going to have a shot to get into the.
And it's those dreaded quad 1s, which they haven't been able to get in recent years. Go ahead, BG.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, Neil, you gave your take on court storming. There's another thing I need to get your take on. It's the holiday season, so I'm sure Lurch is going to have some festive question at the end. But let's get the festive. Let's get some festive action started here.
Let's do it.
It's tradition. For Santa when he comes down the chimney to get some milk and cookies.
Right.
I'm curious. We can't ask Santa right now how he feels about these, so I'll ask you. What's the taste of moral cookies? Because I've been hearing a lot of that throughout this interview so far out in Vegas. They were close. Ooh, they're competing for that. So 2 parts. One, can you tell me the taste of moral cookies? And number 2, can you remind me of the prize you get for having a moral cookie, if you can, please.
Just be careful, Boy Green. You're surrounded by 2 Syracuse.
Oh my God!
I'm just asking.
I'm like really nervous here. I've never been nervous talking to you guys, whether it's on your pod or on the radio, and now I'm like nervous.
Ooh.
Paul, you're totally right. Yeah, there are no moral, and I agree. There are no moral victories, but from like a perception optics standpoint, if they went to Vegas and got blown out in all 3 of those games, people would be feeling a lot worse than they do right now. Yes, they got blown out in the second half against Iowa State, fine. But look, Iowa State could end up being, making moves towards number 1 in the country. But yes, moral cookies. Well, I mean, I like chocolate chip and snickerdoodle. So can it be one of those? Like
quite tasty.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But I feel you, dude. Yeah. Look, we've talked about this on your wonderful show, and you all have talked to others, and I've written about it. The bottom line is if they want to play meaningful games in March, as Autry and Wildhack have taught, they gotta beat good teams. It's not just about playing good teams close, but losing, and then being the teams you're supposed to beat, but then not having any impressive wins. That's not going to do anything.
Right.
But I feel like the last few years under both Autry and even under maybe a little bit under Boeheim, when they were playing higher quality teams, they were getting blown out a lot. So for me, I'm not saying, oh, yay, they almost beat Houston, they only lost by 4 points in overtime. I'm not saying that, but I still think it's an encouraging optical perception thing that they're saying, look, we can beat a Tennessee at home, although Tennessee lost over the weekend. They were playing in Nashville actually against Illinois, but we can beat a good team at home, and we can hang with good teams at neutral sites, and let's see what they do in the ACC. They've got to go to Duke, they've got to go to Louisville, they play North Carolina home and home. We got to see how the rest of the ACC shakes out in terms of the top tier. But yeah, I agree. I mean, 0-3 is 0-3. But, for metrics and efficiencies and all that net stuff, it's still better to play a team like Houston close and lose, even though people are like, oh, shoot, we should have beat them. That kind of aspect of it versus getting just destroyed. But I don't know. What's your favorite moral cookie? Do you like frosted ones? Or oatmeal raisin? What's yours?
To be honest, whenever I've tasted a moral cookie in history, it tastes stale. It tastes like it's sort of been out. I'm excited because I see it and I'm like, oh, this is going to be delicious.
Yeah.
I love cookies. And then I go to bite it. I'm like, oh, wow, this is hard as a rock. Oh, this is not what I thought it was. I thought it was going to be delicious. Oh, no, it's just a rock.
It's like a moral cookie. It chips your tooth. It's not tender in the middle, juicy.
I'm running off to the dentist. No one loves going to the dentist. The dentist love going to the dentist.
Paul is kind of one of those guys. And I'll go back to a story. He'll hate me rehashing this story.
Yes, do it.
We are at the end of the regular season in the world of fantasy football, which we have 4 leagues attached to our wonderful show, which started on radio and now has moved to this digital space. And Paul participates in all 4 leagues. I participate in 3 of the 4 starting next year. I'm going to be in all 4. I'm out of my mind. All right. But nonetheless, we have a top league. It's called the Champs League. All right. And that's the one you want to win. That's the trophy whose name you want etched on the side for all of eternity.
Is there $1
Paul
million
and I have both
payout?
won it twice. So we're going for a third potential. And we both are in the playoffs this year. Just to get away from that for a second and just get to my moral cookie story. So a number of years ago, Paul and I, for the first time ever, met in the championship game, mano a mano, host on host.
Oh, baby.
There was chatter leading up to it. It was like, oh, baby, here we go. Who's going to win this wrestling match? Well, Neil, not to, make light of the situation, but I literally destroyed him. Look, he's going off screen. He doesn't even want me to see. I literally obliterated. By the time the 1 o'clock games were over, it was over. I mean, I was
done.
100 points up and counting. My team was going nuts. Jamar Chase scored 60. Everybody was going off. And Kelsey had a couple of touchdowns. I was like, boo, boo. And my phone was just like, ding, 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 ding. Touchdown, 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 touchdown.
And to make matters worse, you had all these Jets players on your team, right?
So, and it was a half-point PPR. No, he did. It was a half-point PPR. And I scored over 200 points. It was a total destruction.
Wow.
And we never spoke that day. It was just total silence. He didn't text me.
Wow, no text.
I didn't want to rub it. I really didn't. I was like, ooh, that was a beatdown for the ages, right?
Yeah.
And he said to me afterwards, I talked to him afterwards, and he was like, I'd rather get beat like that than lose by a half a point. And I was like,
there's something to be said about that.
I don't want any moral cookies. So he's a believer. He's honestly a believer. He shows you the trueness of Paul.
I live my life that way.
Not a moral cookie guy. I am much more of a moral cookie guy than he is, for sure.
I mean, you could look at it that way. If you get blown out, then it's like there was no hope, and it doesn't maybe sting as much to some degree. But
right, I'm not staying up at night. If Houston blew out Syracuse by 50, I'm not staying up at night. Oh, if it's just one,
I know.
So that's it. I'm not doing, but obviously I am doing that with an overtime loss to Houston. So. But to your point, it is better for all the analytics and stuff and to do all that. But from a fan perspective of wins, losses, results oriented business, it's sort of not there. But because we're miring in negativity right now, I'd rather just hit the jugular right now so we can go to happier, positive,
let's get it over with.
times.
Let's get it over with.
So Syracuse fans may be upset that I'm bringing this up, but I just want to sort of just hit this right on the button.
Mm-hmm.
What does Adrian Autry have to do this year where his job security is not in question? Is it a win total? You're going to draw a line in the sand, 20, 21, 22, whatever that number is. Is it making the tournament? No questions asked. Yes, making it, not making it, black and white. What is it? Is there a tangible thing that if Autry does this, we're not even thinking about it. We're not even talking about it. Like, unfortunately, Neil, and I hated doing this. Last year, it was a legacy check on a week-to-week basis. Oh, what? Oh, let me check the temperature again. Ooh, get a little warmer. Oh, it's this. I don't want to do that. So how do we avoid doing that? What has to happen in your mind?
Yeah, I don't think it's a specific win. And I agree with you. Red was at Syracuse a couple years before me. Griff overlapped with me. I like those guys. I want them to succeed. And I don't want to be talking about this all the time, but it's fair game. I certainly get it. I don't think it's a specific win total. I think it's making the NCAA tournament.
Yes, me too.
I'm not saying that if let's say they go 21-10 and they win one game in the ACC tournament and then lose their second. So I'm not good at math, but 22-11 overall.
Correct. Right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Let's say they are the last team out. I don't think that's going to automatically cause Wild Hack to fire Autry. I'm not saying Autry is going to continue his job either. I think part of it, you'll have to look at how did ACC play go? They play 18 games in ACC play this year. And like I said, they go to Duke, they go to Louisville, they got North Carolina home, other guys, blah, blah, blah.
So if he makes the tournament, he's safe, Neil.
How do you, even if they're like a first four team, how do you fire a guy after this season if they've made the tournament, but they went 14-19 last year with extenuating circumstances? And I know injuries, every team has to deal with it, but yeah, obviously only 14 games for Donnie Freeman. JJ missed 7 games. Blah, 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 blah. I just think you didn't fire him after last year and he's went 14-19 and he gets to the tournament. Even if they just sneak in, I don't see how he's not coming back.
Right.
And I'm fine with that. And I was fine with bringing him back this year. I know other people felt differently, and that's fair game too. Like I just felt like he won 20. He went 20-11 in the regular season, 20-12 overall in his first season. It was the first time Syracuse won 20 regular season games in a decade, which also speaks to the program, obviously, kind of. But and he had a lot of sophomores, and I think he did a solid job. Last year was a debacle. Again, injuries. I think they didn't. They missed in the portal. Alex Klein wasn't I think they did we'll see how the season shakes out, but I think they did a much better job, in the portal this past offseason with getting 6 guys, multiple 4-star guys. And William Kyle, that dude's playing really good. And they, good prep class, and they retain their 2 best players. So if they make the tournament this year, even if it's not, even if we are all, sweating out Selection Sunday, he's coming back. He's coming back. What would be awesome? I would love if they went like 22-9, 23-8 in the regular season. Again, I'm not expecting them to win the ACC tournament because they've never won more than one game in the ACC tournament. But, if they get a solid, okay, you're not going to be a top, get like a solid 6 seed.
Yeah.
See if you can, spring some upsets like they've done in the past. But just like for the program's sake, for Wild Hack's sake, for the boosters' sake, for alumni, for fans, for us talking about this, just get in comfortably, please. Just get in comfortably.
And I would say this, and I mean, playing in these preseason tournaments is part of this. But one of the things that one of the greatest to ever do it, and that's Tom Izzo that I'm talking about, the longtime Michigan State coach did, is he used to run his team through the through the ringer in the non-conference, especially in the month of December and November. And he would, and while his team wouldn't have a great record rolling into the New Year, they were battle tested. And then when they got to the end of the year, they were more ready. So I think in a lot of ways, by happenstance, those 3 losses, this victory against Tennessee and anything else that's in front of them. I mean, the conference is coming up, so I don't think they have anything else big coming up. That is going to help this team. Yeah. And you could see watching this Tennessee game how much pride those players. I saw all the post-game stuff, Cayenne in the interview and doing that fun.
Yeah, that was cool. That was
taking the microphone from the reporter.
He went ballistic. That was
cool
great.
Viral moments there. This team was really, really affected by that win, saying it's about time, we were due, we can do this kind of stuff. There seems to be an inner pride, and it's kind of cool that they're doing it arguably without their best scorer. You know, Freeman right now is statistically their best scorer. He's not in the lineup, and they're winning without him. They're winning in spite of him, and he is at some point going to return, hopefully sooner rather than later.
I hope so.
Yeah. All right. But, you know, the fact of the matter is it feels like this team has an inner pride that might drive it a little bit more this year. And I think we're going to see more upside in ACC play than we've seen in a while. I just have a feeling. I could be dead wrong, but I got a feeling.
I'm the same way in terms of like gut instinct. These guys are hungry. They know what's at stake for this team, this program, this coaching staff. And guys, they like playing for Autry. They like playing for Griff and Strong. Like those guys are the coaching, like they're good recruiters. Like, you know, remains to be seen if Autry's, you know, the right man for the job in terms of being the head coach.
Yeah.
But and X's O's, exactly. But no, they know that they take pride in wearing. And I'm not suggesting the team last year didn't, but these guys, you know, with Kyan and his dad and, you know, Sadiq White and some of the, you know, even the transfers coming in, like, you know, they recruited Tyler Betsy out of high school. They take pride in the S, and they know what's at stake, and they believe. Like, you know, you always hear coaches and players, you know, talk, you know, there's, oh yeah, we can beat. Like, I genuinely believe that these guys believe they can hang with teams like Houston. They can beat teams like Tennessee. I'm not saying they're going to go to Louisville or Duke or win, but again, I'm not all about like moral snickerdoodle cookies. Like at this point in ACC play, like let's beat some good teams. But I think there is a confidence level there. Like you said, Jim, I really hope they get Donnie back sooner than later. And for God's sake, can you freaking hit some free throws? I mean, really?
Yeah, the free throws. It's always in the annals of Syracuse history.
I know, but it's
periodically
like
these teams.
Yeah, it's been this historical thing, and you went there, and you know, I went there in the late '90s, but I've been a fan since like. I'm not saying they've stunk every single year free throws, but it does seem like it's kind of like an ongoing narrative.
Too many.
But it's one thing to shoot like 70% collectively, which still isn't great. Let me look it up. Are they still at 50? Yeah, they're at 57. 57%.
That's not good. As a team, that's terrible.
That is a problem when you're playing good teams and you have close games late.
Yeah. Like, do people realize how bad that is? That means if
Syracuse is awful.
That means if Syracuse basketball players were on a boat and half of them dove off, 1 out of every 2 times they wouldn't hit water. Like, that is what we're talking about here. That is like unbelievable.
Yeah,
which leads me to this, Neil. Can you fix that? Do you either suck at free throw shooting and you're good and that's it? Is it just black and white, or is there literally, can they bring some expert in? I remember back in football Jets days, right? Rex Ryan was like, Mark Sanchez, you need to learn how to slide. They brought in Derek Jeter and they showed him how to slide, and then they tried to do something. Is there some magic free throw guy or a motivational Tony Robbins or something? Can someone come in and just like I don't know, get this team in a trance and suddenly shoot better? I don't know.
My son Kathan would say bring Steph Curry in because that's his favorite player, and he obviously can kind of shoot.
There you go.
Okay, so I had to look this up. I probably should have looked it up even before, but I just looked it up. 361 teams listed on NCAA.com. Free throw shooting percentage: Little Rock 361. Guess who's 360?
Wow. They're second to last.
Oh,
yeah. And like, and to answer your question, Paul, like,
wow, they
obviously practice free throws. I think it's.
Well, I'm not sure if that's so obvious, but okay.
Well, okay. Semi-obviously, they practice free throws. They have to. It's just it's like one thing if like, you know, some of your big men, like, but like even like Kyan Anthony isn't shooting well. Like, who else is it? Like, Neil,
I would actually be relieved to hear if Autry just came out and said, actually, we haven't been practicing. But I'm like, oh, thank God. That's the reason why they've been so terrible.
37%. Nate George, like in terms of, you know, he's 71%.
To hear how much they must be practicing it makes me feel much worse. Oh God, they've been working on this, and this is the result. Oh boy.
It's I just, you know, you're always going to have something with the team that are like strengths and weaknesses and all that jazz. And certainly free throw shooting and 3-point shooting have been, you know, not good this year. honestly, it would make me really sad. Like if they just lose some games, like against good teams, and that ultimately prevents them from getting the tournament, and it came down to free throws. That would just stink.
Paul, here's the good news about this, Boy Green. Okay, here's the good news.
Right, it can only go up.
This plays just like fantasy football, right? Back to fantasy football analogies for 100, Alex, and that this plays just like fantasy football. After you have that 80-point team week, Boy Green, what typically happens the next week? So look, Syracuse is saving the free throws for when it matters in the ACC season, man. What goes down must come up.
Must come back up.
Must come up. By the way, today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Play It Again Sports. Let's just take 30 seconds, learn a little bit more about our friends from Play It Again.
When you don't want to pay full price for sporting goods, and who does, then there's only one place to go in Syracuse. Play It Again Sports. With both new and gently used gear, Play It Again has prices way less than regular retail stores. Another unique aspect of this awesome sporting goods store is that they will give you money for that quality sports gear collecting dust in your basement, attic, or garage. No appointment necessary, just bring it into the store. Play It Again Sports in the DeWitt Town Center on Erie Boulevard right next to Crunch Fitness. Don't spend more, play it again. PlayItAgainSportsSyracuse.com.
All right, we are back inside the Orange. We're talking with Inside the Loud House's Neil Adler. He's our weekly guest for all things Syracuse basketball, and we'll be getting into the throes of it soon, especially once we get into conference play, which starts, by the way, on New Year's Eve in earnest for the Syracuse basketball team, a little matinee game that day. But before we get to that, we're talking Syracuse players, and let's get into some of the players now. Enough of the tertiary stuff. Let's talk about some of these guys, because there are some guys on this team, Neil, for people that are, dare I say, tuning in a little late, names that you've never heard. Let's talk about Nate Kings, and let's talk about some of these players that are on this roster this year that are making a difference for Syracuse. Where does it start? You pick a guy.
I mean, Nate Kings obviously had a great first half against Tennessee. He had 19 points. I don't think he took a shot in the second half, or if he did, he scored. But I mean, that kept them in the game in the first half. But for my money, guys, it's William Kyle. He's playing really well. And he was a transfer from UCLA. Didn't play a ton last year for the Bruins. He was injured for part of the year. Just they had other guys he was competing for minutes with. And he played at a mid-major before that. And was known for being, a good rim protector, good shot blocker, good on defense. He is insanely athletic. I mean, you guys have watched the games.
Yeah, he's terrific.
Some of these, and yeah, he's not obviously like a long-range shooter or anything like that. He's not good at free
throws. And he's
throws.
not the biggest of big guys, but he's big enough,
the other
and
thing.
Rugged. Yeah.
That's the other thing, my man. Like, coming into this season, a lot of people were like, oh, their center is like 6'8", 6'9", and then they got the second, transfer, Kier Soare, who's also kind of in that boat, and then they have Sheffing Diawara, but he's a longer-term prospect. He's taller, but we don't have a traditional center, and Autry was saying it all along, and I kind of drank the Kool-Aid about, do they need a center that's 7'1"? They need a guy that's got obviously, an impressive wingspan, so to speak, but he is ultra athletic. He gets way above the rim. And again, 6'8", 6'9". And I think we've talked about it. Houston last year was a national runner-up, and I think their center was 6'9". So it's not just about height. It's about length. It's about agility, about running the court, etc. And he's just playing really well. Just looking here, he's averaging just under 10 points a game, just under basically 10 and 8. A little over 1 assist, 1 steal, almost 3 blocks per game, shooting 70%. Most of his shots are dunks. And I just think, Syracuse obviously in Vegas and the Tennessee game, they played well on defense. In Vegas, their defense kind of took a step back in terms of points allowed, but the competition stepped up. But those first, bunch of games, they were like leading the country in points allowed per game. And I don't know where they are right now, but their defense is a lot better, and he's a big reason why. So I'm a big William Kyle fan. I'm certainly concerned that assuming he's in games in late game situations where it's close, that his poor free throw shooting is an issue. But then again, as we just talked about, the whole team pretty much stinks. So I'm not necessarily seeing him like being taken out of the game per se. Maybe certain situations, but he's done really well. Kings has been up and down. If I'm being honest, and again, this is never like a personal jab, I'm really kind of bummed about, by and large, how Nate George has played this season. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that he's not a good player, and he's had a game or two that he's been good, but he's struggled. And for Syracuse to be where they want to be, They need Donnie Freeman back for sure in the long term, and they need Nate George to step up.
Tell people about George's background a little bit. Where did he?
Yeah, Nate George is he played his first 2 years at Georgia Tech, and then transferred to Syracuse. So he's a junior. He led the ACC in assists per game last year. It's I think around 6.5 assists per game. He came in, as a 4-star transfer, one of the top point guards, in terms of rankings in the transfer portal. And I thought that was a really, really, really good pickup for Syracuse. Did really well in the portal. But he's just committing a lot of turnovers and certainly a point guard that makes a lot of good plays sometimes is going to make some not so good plays. And I can deal with that. But I don't know if it was one of his last games. He had I think he had 6 assists, but he had 7 turnovers. And to be fair, Syracuse has, been up and down in the turnover department. And it's not all just on him, but he's, just looking here, he's averaging 5.3 assists, 3 turnovers a game. So, that's not an awful assist turnover ratio, but it's not ideal. Ideally he would be kind of where he was last year, between 6 and 7 assists per game, and hopefully 2 turnovers per game. Yes, right. So, look, he's got plenty of time to turn around, and he's actually shown that he can shoot some. He wasn't a huge scorer last year. I think he averaged 12 points, but they need him. Yes, some scoring is nice, but they just need him to lead this team in terms of being the floor general, because I don't like when JJ Starling is running the point. I feel he feels out of position to me, and he needs to get going too. He played well against. He had some big shots in the second half against Tennessee. He had that one stretch where he hit a 3, and then he hit a mid-range jumper, and I think they had been down 1, and that put him up 4. They ended up coughing up the lead a little bit. I mean, that was huge. So he needs to get going as well. But George, and if so, we're talking about transfers. The other guy certainly keep an eye on is Tyler Betsy, who comes off the bench but has proven that he can score. He's a high volume shooter, and his shooting numbers I don't think are super great, but he is a 6'8", I think he's 6'8" forward, hybrid
he's
forward.
A lean, tall guy. I like him.
Yeah, that can shoot. And like I said, he came from Cincinnati. He was a 4-star transfer. He was a 4-star prep recruit out of St. Thomas More in Connecticut. Syracuse recruited him back in the day. So he'll be an important piece as well. But Nate George has got to get going. And Nate Kings, again, not to crap on the guy, but he hasn't. I mean, he came in as a almost 45% 3-point shooter, and he's shooting 25% from 3.
Yeah, that's good.
So,
that's bad.
Yeah.
But to be fair, the team's shooting 29% from 3.
Yeah.
So
it's a team that's been crap.
Yeah. There you go. Again, we're speaking with Neil Adler. He built inside the damn Loud House, baby. This is the house that he built with all things Syracuse hoops. And Neil, Donnie Freeman, we basically haven't seen him for a month, and there's been no return timeline set for when he is going to come back. But have you been satisfied? It sounds like not completely with some of what I'm about to ask, but have you been satisfied with, okay, when someone's not there, and that's a guy that you have to lean on if you're Syracuse basketball, you remove that piece, someone else has to step up to the plate. Have you been satisfied, or how satisfied have you been with the rest of the Syracuse guys going, man, someone's going to have to step up specifically in the scoring department? Have you been satisfied with what you've seen basically over the last month or so without Freeman in the lineup?
I mean, the team is going to be better with him than without him, and that's a super captain obvious statement, and that's why you guys have me on your fine program.
I love that analysis.
I'm super insightful, and I say things that people just never thought about.
Makes sense.
I think, guys I think Sadiq White, he's been getting the start, I believe, in every game since Donnie's been out, and Sadiq White is a high 4-star in the 2025 class from Charlotte. He played at IMG's last year. He has a great motor too. He's ultra athletic, and he is really good on defense. Now, obviously, he's a freshman, so that's always something to keep in mind. But I think he's had some good games. And Betsy's gotten more points. Am I satisfied? Like I said, if they could have gotten that second win against Houston, or the win against Houston to go 2-2 over that brutal 4-game stretch without Freeman, man, I would have been super satisfied. 1-3 with a couple of close losses, putting aside our moral cookie conversation. I'm not dissatisfied, because they could be 0-4 and they could be getting blown out by every team. And it's like obviously the next man up mentality, and they do need him back sooner than later, and we'll see if he plays against St. Joe's later this week. But I think Sadiq White is a more than capable guy, and Betsy. But when they get into the heart of their ACC schedule and they're going up against Cam Boozer over at Duke, or some of the really good
Boozer boys,
the Boozer twins, which I love because I'm a twin. But and Louisville and NC, there's a lot of there's good big power forwards and centers. Like, they'll need Freeman back because Sadiq White being a freshman, a lot of times freshmen, again, another Captain Obvious statement, they're not as strong. They don't have as much bulk. They're going to get pushed around a little bit more. So I think Sadiq White and again, Betsy and how they're playing the rotation, like those guys can certainly be capable substitutions, so to speak. But Donnie was averaging almost 18 points a game. You need him back. But I was relatively satisfied.
Neil, last one from me, and that is, and you kind of mentioned it there in that last answer. There's no question in my mind the transition from Jim Boeheim to Adrian Autry. One of the things that a lot of fans had issues with Jim Boeheim was that short rotation. And it wasn't just short at tournament time. It wasn't just short in the key ACC games. I mean, it became an annual thing. Other than the complete powder puff games where you were seeing the whole bench, you saw none of the bench. Adrian Autry is using this roster, and I think that will serve them well as the season goes on, especially as naturally people do miss games and someone does get hurt and something does happen that disables a guy from being out for a few games. So what are you seeing there, and do you like what you see from Autry?
Yeah, I mean, I think coming into this season, well, there was a lot of unknowns because they only had 2 guys coming back out of 13 scholarship players, so you don't know what you're going to get. But I think this roster, at least on paper and what I've seen so far, lends itself to I'm not saying he's going to play 10 guys deep every game, but certainly 8. You got the starting 5, and then you got guys like I just mentioned, Tyler Betsy, Kyan Anthony, Sadiq White. You've got, Akir Soare. You've got Bryce Seffer. I don't know. Neither of those guys, Luke Fennell, none of those guys play. The last 3 guys play a ton, but there's definitely a good core rotation with the starting 5 and then Sadiq, Kyan, and Tyler. I feel like, and again, assuming Donnie comes, when he comes back, that's a good core 8 that are going to play solid, substantial minutes. And then again, you could have guys like Luke Fennell, Zephyr, and Soare, here and there. Aaron Womack's going to redshirt. DOR is not going to, get a lot of run. But yeah, it's going to be a deeper rotation. I think a lot of teams, when you really get further along the season, they're not like necessarily. I mean, Leonard Hamilton used to play like 17 guys, even though you only had 13 on scholarship every year. But a lot of them are down to around 8, I'd say at that point. I'm fine with that. I think it'll be that core 8, and then those other guys maybe sprinkled in here and there. And like you said, Jim, you never know with injuries or just whatever. But I think Autry wants to play a little bit deeper rotation because he plays more up-tempo. He wants to play fast. Clearly, one of Syracuse's strengths is whether when it's getting a rebound or getting a deflection or getting a steal and running out in transition and getting points, either fast break points or points off turnovers. When they're excelling in those 2 areas, they're successful. And that makes up for shortcomings in the half-court offense when they're not shooting well from the perimeter and they're not good at the free throw line. But that up-tempo stuff is a recipe for success for Syracuse.
All right, Neil, as promised, I will end with a Christmas-themed question. We've been
Bring
doing
it
with all our guests here.
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Is that what you're going to ask me?
No, that would be nice. That would be nice. No, we want to delve into the Adler tradition, the
Okay.
Adler family. You say you're one of a twin, you're a pair. You got the interesting son. I mean, there's a lot going on in your life. So let's delve in. And I want you to meander back to when you were a child or wherever part of life this takes you. All right. But the question to you, Neil, is a memorable Christmas gift that you either received or gave to someone. You can go either direction. You can be a giver or you can be a receiver. All right. So just think which side you want to go first. We could do receiver next time if you do giver this time or vice versa. All right. And what was it about that gift that tickled your fancy? Dare I say that kind of excited you? So can you come up with one here, a little Christmas story, Christmas themed ending here?
Yeah, I love this. Yeah, my twin brother Dan and I were very blessed growing up and got wonderful Christmas presents, way more than we deserved. So I'll leave that to the side. But with my son, he, as you know, is big into basketball now, and he's big into sports trading cards and sports memorabilia. And so this past year, for Christmas, between gifts from Santa, of course, because Santa gives him gifts, and then from me and his grandparents, he got and there's some of them are sitting right here. He got a Magic Johnson signed card. He got a card. He's into these cards where part of the jerseys in it. Have you ever, I didn't know about that.
I've seen that. Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, they'll get a little piece.
Yeah. So
why don't you all have a piece of the Carrier Dome floor or the roof?
I do.
The roof. They do the Carrier Dome roof.
Well, I'll tell you here. Look,
a speck of the roof. I got a speck of the roof.
I do have this sitting right here, so that's a good one. But he also got one where it was the jersey of John Stockton and Larry Bird, and then it was autographed by both of them. That's awesome.
Stockton Bird. That's nice
awesome. One. And then I spoil my kid rotten, but I love him and he's my only kid. He did get a little signed mini Derrick Henry signed helmet with the Ravens, because that's my hometown team. Mm-hmm. And he liked it, but he was also like, Dad, why didn't you get me a signed helmet with Derrick Henry with Tennessee? Because
Nashville, right? Yeah.
And I was like, well, you don't play on Tennessee anymore, and I root for the Titans just like I like the Jets, and the Bills, but I'm a Ravens guy. So
with the other guy,
and plenty more. He has a Jim. He got a Jim Palmer. He likes all this old school stuff.
You raised him
right. I could go on forever.
Tell him to subscribe to our channel, man. We're giving away a Bobby Mercer autographed baseball to one of the first 400 subscribers. You can walk
Absolutely. Well, I am a proud subscriber, and everyone out there in digital land should subscribe too, because you guys rock, and I love you guys on a personal level. You know that.
Very much. All right. Good Christmas story. Thank you, Neil. That was awesome. All right. And more Christmas stories to come here in the upcoming weeks with all of our guests. Yeah. He has that in a frame. I have that in a drawer about 20 feet away from me right now. I also have Mike Hart's cover on Sports Illustrated when he was playing for Michigan and broke their all-time record. That's sitting in my drawer as well. I got some things. So I told Boy Green I'm emptying out some of the cupboard, dare I say, in order to bribe people to become subscribers, because we're trying to grow our numbers as quickly as possible. So that Mercer ball that I'm giving away, which is about 3 feet away from me, but I'm not going to reach over and get it, is one for my personal collection. And maybe I'll do with some of this Syracuse memorabilia too. Look, if it's just sitting in a drawer, what the heck, man? Let me get it. Somebody's going to put it in a frame. So it's my fault that I haven't put it in a frame, but let somebody put it in a frame who would really, really enjoy it and see it on their wall every day. I have my things on my wall.
Well, I want to hear about, I know we probably got to wrap up, but I want to hear about your best gifts ever at some point too.
Okay. We can come back at that. Don't worry. We're definitely going to see you again before Christmas for sure. So, all right. Thank you, Neil. Say hello to everybody, and appreciate you as always, my friend.
Love you guys. Thank you.